This is the X&C Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Gaz, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, X&C Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox newscast. Bro, so professional. I've got the monitor. I can see you in real time. Welcome to the X&C Podcast. I'm Colteastwood. Over here. This is Gaz. Yeah, welcome to the show. This is episode 78. And Gaz, it's so good to have you back. You've been gone for 3 weeks.
It's good to be back. I've been away for 3 weeks. Did you miss me? Did you miss me?
Bro, the chat missed you. The audience missed you. I missed you.
No, they didn't. No, you didn't.
But you're barely back. Like you came in on the weekend, and then you're like a little bit under the weather. You know, you caught something crazy while you're there. No, you were doing good though. Just got a little bit of cough going on. You're good.
Yeah, man. It's good to be back. Hi, chat. Hi, everyone. I see you in chat. It's not my birthday, but thank you. But yeah, man, I can't wait to get into it. The things have happened since I was away. I see you had King David on.
Yes.
But he was always a legend. Always a legend. Yeah, no, it's good to be back, man. I know it's ungodly hours, but I still missed every second of it. So it's good to be back and to talk gaming. And shout out to
the ungodly hours in Thailand you were keeping, or doing the show at ungodly hours.
What happens in Thailand stays in Thailand. And on the internet. No, man. That Thailand is an insane country. It's an insane country. And you Americans need to leave the US and explore the world. It's a whole new world out there, man. It was a great time. Back to reality. Came straight from work. And just dove into some Call of Duty because it's cold. It's rubbish here in the UK at the moment. Everything's really expensive. It's just sad. But
yeah, we're right at freezing temperatures in Washington. It's like, just count the days until it gets nice again. But yeah, we had some crazy times while you were gone. We had Oh No It's Alex and Fonz on last week, and right at the end, somebody supered $50 trying to get me to take my shirt off. And
did you do it?
No. It was so
$50 that you didn't take off your shirt.
Oh, my face was so red.
Does he love you really? Does he love you really? You need to take your clothes off. If someone does it today, he's gonna do it today.
Actually, I shouldn't have said anything. Now that's gonna be a whole other problem. Yeah, well, I got to give a shout out to the people that are running across the ticker on the top of the screen. Thank you, everybody who being here on the show. Gaz and I have got a lot to talk about. But first, I want to talk about something real quick. We're going to get into the news about Activision Blizzard. We're not going to be on this very long, but there's actually more to talk about than just talking about Activision Blizzard and some of the stuff that developed today. But I want to start off by talking about this whole Twitter thing briefly, because everybody thinks maybe the ship's going down. People are jumping onto like any social media platform, guys, that could be invented like on a whim. We're all just ready to give our personal information to any app we can download off our phone. But what do you think's going on with this? I've got some insight into Elon Musk.
Into Elon Musk? What? Well, this ABK deal thing, like I said to you ages ago, remember I said it's going to look like there are times where it's going to go through and then it's not going to go through. It's going to be a roller coaster. And right now, it seems like we're in that phase where the FTC is ready to litigate on this. They're poised to be obstructive. And this comes at the back of the big revelation. New York Times revealed that Microsoft, I find this insane. Microsoft has offered Sony to have Call of Duty for 10 years. Remember when Jim Ryan came out and said 3 years? They only offered 3 years.
Oh my gosh, it's like 3 years is not enough. That's not adequate.
That's not adequate after
Well, I mean,
your
he goes,
2-year contract.
Phil Spencer, it's not. It isn't adequate.
Yeah, he does kind of sound like that. So it's just not. And what now? What now? Because it's for a whole decade after the contract ends. That's a very long time in terms of contracts of this kind of nature for this kind of deal. That's over a gen. Like Sony has a decade. Think about it. We're going to be 10 years older when this Call of Duty thing will probably get renewed after the 10 years anyway. Isn't that enough time for Sony to get its act together and actually build a first-person shooter worthy of note? How much time is
10
Xbox
years? Put that in perspective. 10 years was one of the final years of the Xbox 360 era. Like, we were waiting for Grand Theft Auto 5 to come out 10 years ago. 10 years ago! Let us compete!
We're back to the let's compete.
Oh my gosh. 10 years?
And not only that though, what's happened is Sony have declined to comment on the offer. So we made fun of Jim Ryan being really sad and pathetic with this whole thing and being really entitled. Sony still have yet to comment after 10 years. That means his begging and all that actually worked, and all this grandstanding is working. But it may also be an indication of how bloody desperate Xbox is, Microsoft is, just to see the deal go through. When I read that, my first instinct was, I just like, why Xbox is big. Look, if Xbox is caught between a rock and a hard place, and it has to do this for the sake of the deal going through, then it just means that Microsoft aren't that confident. They're literally offering everything now. Because to me, my view is still the same. Sony, you just need to fix up. It's kind of sad. It's kind of pathetic. And if I hear Sony cry still after this, I don't know what's Microsoft's game plan here, because Sony threw you under the bus. It's your $70 billion you put on the table. Why is Sony acting like it's the one fronting the money for this? And what's their complaint going to be now? Look, you offered it day and day on PlayStation's platform. You're not offering any exclusive content or services on there. It's going to be on Game Pass. What is Sony going to say next? You can't have it on your subscription service. Like something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just feel like Microsoft needs to go scorched earth on this. I know it sounds like, oh, you're being very emotive. This is not how business is done. But
I heard that
Sony
from lots
does
of people.
do business like this. Yeah, but Sony does business like this all the time. It's made a legacy. What was Jim Ryan's quote that here?
I'll get to it in a minute. Agent Shadow, thanks for the super. He says Sony wants extra stipulations to the deal, like Call of Duty can't be on Game Pass, no exclusive Xbox content, Xbox version can't run better. They just want Call of Duty only on PlayStation for X amount of years. And I'll add to Agent Shadow's spot on super there, except for the look better. That's kind of, the jury's still out on that, right? But I think Jim Ryan is looking at this like, look, we've been enjoying for the past 8 years or whatever, we've been enjoying having all of the premier content on our platform. And whether you like it or not, major diehard PlayStation fans, Call of Duty is one of the biggest residual annual revenue streams for PlayStation. It's something that comes in, rain or shine. They could put out Dogwater, Vanguard. I almost said God of War. That was horrible. They could put out I'm really enjoying Ragnarok, by the way. But they could put out Dogwater Vanguard, which was like the worst Call of Duty in years, and it was one of the most highly sold ones before this. I'm on a tangent, but Agent Shadow Wolf is a really good super there, that they are enjoying having their bread and their cake and eating it too. They can make whatever deals they want to. And let's get to... You gave a great speech, Kaz. Let me get to that quote from Jim Ryan. He says, PlayStation's boss Jim Ryan told the publication, I could have left that out, that it's not true that his company had misled regulators. Okay, so before I read that, he was accused by the publication, like, did you guys mislead the regulators? He said it's not true that his company, being PlayStation, had misled regulators. Microsoft, he says, is a tech giant with a long history of dominating industries.
Are you serious? Think about what he just said there, chat. Microsoft is a tech giant with a long history of dominating industries. That means only Sony's allowed to dominate in the gaming space, because that's what Sony is. PlayStation has dominated in this space. It really has. And you want to continue market dominance. Why is it the FTC's role to protect Sony here? Why it all revolves around Call of Duty. One IP, a singular first-person shooter IP.
It's their bread and butter. If they already know they've got Minecraft, like that's already set in stone that Minecraft belongs to them or it stays on the platform. And I have to remind you guys already know, right? Minecraft is one of their biggest money makers on the PlayStation platform every single year. As old as that game is, they make more money off of Minecraft. And in fact, Nintendo makes so much money off of Minecraft that they treat it like a first-party IP. Did you know that, Gaz? That internally they give it as much love and support because it is a money printer. It really, really is. There's more to this quote. It really is. Before we forget.
No, what?
He says that Microsoft is a tech giant with a long history of dominating industries, and is highly likely that the choices gamers have today will disappear if this deal goes ahead, he claimed.
Explain that to me. Explain that to me. What
he
choices?
Says it is likely that choices the gamers have today would likely go away. So let's break that down really quick. Gaz, what choices do gamers have today when it comes to Call of Duty?
What choices? On PlayStation, you get extra stuff no one else gets, and extra bonuses that PlayStation, Xbox users don't get, or PC users don't get. What choices? What will happen? They're giving you Call of Duty for a decade. What is changing?
I can only think of one choice that changes, and it's an additional choice. No choices are taken away. Yeah, you can decide to play the game on Game Pass on Xbox. I guess the choice is taken away where you can't play it on Game Pass on PlayStation, but I don't think Jim Ryan wants to go there yet.
I mean, they don't even believe in their own sub-service for that stuff that they say is unsustainable for big AAA. So I'm sure they've shot themselves in the foot with that argument. But if you talk to Phil Spencer, Colt, what would you do if you're Phil? Like, am I the only one who's a bit kind of fed up with... I know it's complicated. I know it seems like Microsoft is not that confident that it's offering this insane incentive for a decade. But... am I the only one that chat? Let me know if I'm being a little bit emotive here. But if I'm Phil Spencer and I'm like, we've done business in this space for a while. We've tolerated your nonsense for ages. Crossplay, that was resoundingly good for gamers. Who was it? Sony, that was being so obstructive that it had to be forced by Fortnite and the epic lawsuit to...
They had to sneak it in. Remember one? I don't remember who the platform was.
Dragging and kicking.
They said it on ACG was talking about it on your show on Saturday. Go check out Go Live from the 19th or whatever. ACG brought up a game developer that accidentally turned it on. I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Was it Epic? We're like, whoops, we turned on crossplay. I don't know how that happened. And it pushed Sony into stop saying, it's about the children.
Remember that? Thank you for reminding me. Jim Ryan said, well, what about the children? And we're like, well, hold on. Nintendo are the most child-friendly platform there. And he goes, oh, yeah. And that's exactly how that conversation went down. Sony are being so... The only way Sony are pro-consumer now is that they deliver exclusive first-party titles that hit well. And everything else, they falter badly. Everything. So... I'm just, if I'm Microsoft, I just want Phil Spencer and company to have a bit of a more retaliatory attitude to this. But if they're going to be nice now for the sake of being nice here, then they need to have a game plan. Why? Why should they be nice with these competitors?
Okay,
let's really take the piss with them.
Let's go back to June of 2022. I think it was somewhere around there when, forget the month. But Phil said, we plan to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Like they said, we want to buy Activision. That was that first news. And then I think a day later or the same day I think it was the day that they got a call from Sony, right? They're like, PlayStation, you know, like, is my girlfriend in there? You know, like, I think when they go up to the party, hey, is my girlfriend in there? And Phil, the other day we're going to talk about a game here in a minute after we get off this subject, but Gaz's cough was going crazy. We were laughing so hard. Anyway, the first thing Phil said was, we plan to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. And then it just kind of kept going. Yes, we intend to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for at least 3 years. And then they're talking behind the scenes, because we have to remember, right, guys? Phil doesn't get to say what he exactly plans to do with Activision. He doesn't own them yet, and it's going through regulatory process. So now we just recently heard that they want to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for 10 years, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, which, like the chat so smartly pointed out, you're talking like on the PS6, on the Xbox 720 Series 2 or whatever.
Why is Microsoft?
Well, let me get to this.
Are so weak.
I have to get to this. Like you were setting it up perfectly. Like, when is Phil going to say, you know what the crap? You know, he doesn't swear, right?
Seriously?
What the poo? Like,
he does swear.
I'm trying to think of an example where you just keep offering and offering, and someone's like, no, not good enough. No, it's not good enough. And you don't need to extend this olive branch, right? There's no reason to, other than the bean counters that Microsoft said, look, just leave it on PlayStation. We'll make this much money if you do. Yeah. And like, remember we said on the show like 2 months ago, the bean counter said, we'll make this much money if we keep it on PlayStation. We'll make it off the PlayStation fans, or we'll make this much money by being exclusive to Game Pass or exclusive to Xbox or something, right? Like, which one? And like, we've done the math. Let's just make the money off the PlayStation.
I don't.
And
want
Jim Ryan's sitting there saying it's not good enough.
Yeah, but what I don't want, look, it seems like it may well be the case that Microsoft, if you take their statements at face value, they said it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, it's only profitable if it remains on PlayStation. If that's the case, 10 years means nothing. That's fine. We will let them have it. We get paid royalties for it, all of that. We make our money. We've still got a whole slate of other IPs that still remain exclusive. That Call of Duty is taking the limelight. Let it soak in all the limelight. The rest of these big IPs that, you know, Activision Blizzard own, that's going to be good. But in the back of their mind, in my opinion, Phil Spencer needs to be, and Phil Spencer and company, all of them need to be thinking, well, hold on, no, you come out and Jim Ryan's publicly like slated them. This is a company that has routinely engaged in timed exclusivity content. It's been hostile in making sure it maintains its market dominance. That's what Sony has been, routinely aggressively hostile. But what I don't want Microsoft to do, Phil Spencer, to be really kumbaya about this whole thing and then just keep relenting here. They need to have a game plan. Their mindset should be, okay, you know what? Let them have Call of Duty. We'll give it to them for 10 years. But now we're going to set an example. When this deal goes through, we are going to be very aggressive in the manner in which we maintain exclusive content.
Like Xbox will continue to sell it on PlayStation, but we're getting the map packs first. We're getting
No. Forget Call of Duty. Forget Call of Duty. That's it. They've made it very clear. If they're anything beyond just giving that game day in, day out on PlayStation and no other incentive, that's nonsense. Already, it's a massive win for Xbox if it just comes on Game Pass. That alone is huge. That markets Game Pass and Call of Duty for Microsoft massively. Remember, you still got World of Warcraft. You still got Diablo. Imagine Diablo on Game Pass. Diablo is huge. When it comes out next year, it's not going to work for about 48 hours because so many people are going to be trying to get on. And if that's on Game Pass, if the deal goes through by then, I don't know, it seems like a bit sketchy because of FTC readying itself to
They're super close. They're super close. They're hoping timing works out. And I think Diablo, Call of Duty, and maybe one other game will remain multi-plat. And like you said, guys, I don't think they can lose. Just being on Game Pass or just, even if it's not exclusive, they get more of that profit margin from those games.
But I'd still be pissed. still be pissed if I was Microsoft, because Sony, the way it's behaved with this, and the way is this Jim Ryan schlepping it out, flying to Brussels, being really obstructive,
talking to that guy that said, "My PlayStation, it's my PlayStation."
Oh my god, I was on holiday when that happened. It's like my PlayStation. I'm thinking, oh my god, what am I reading here? It's become a bit of a laugh. Even Hoag's Law was like, really?
Mm-hmm.
This is a statement that you think was appropriate to make as someone?
And it turns out he worked with the regulators for a long time. It's been there like 15 years. Let me grab some supers that go with this. Assassin. Gaz, I love you, bro. I'm so glad we're here to talk about this stuff. Assassin says, I agree with Gaz. Microsoft has been absolutely more than fair with Sony regarding Call of Duty. It's time for Microsoft to finally fight with both hands untied. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm pissed off at Microsoft. I know it's complicated, but
is the kumbaya coming from we don't want to like, because you could step up and puff your chest, but you don't want to have concessions that'll railroad this. Like, they're just thinking, look, we need this for mobile, and Call of Duty is just going to be a moneymaker for us. And if we let some stupid, like, because I really believe that Xbox and Microsoft's lawyers could just squash a thumb down on PlayStation and put them in their place. But if it means that victory railroads the actual purchase, it's not worth it. So I feel like they're under a barrel. That's not a term I use, but right, they're behind the 8 ball. They're kind of like
they're reactive.
They got them in a vice.
They're reactive. If Jim Ryan is telling the truth and it was only 3 years, and now from his crying and posturing, he's turned that 10 years. Dude, that guy has already earned his dude. When a British guy says dude, it's really bad. But they turned it to 10 years. It's worked. It's worked incredibly that he's managed to do that.
I think it's so... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So what? Were you going to swear?
I just think it's so bold to say, hey, we want it for 10 years. Call of Duty's been going for a long time. Wouldn't you be like, well, I guess they have PlayStation has nothing to lose. Like, if Call of Duty starts teetering down and goes out of favor and becomes less popular in 6 or 8 years, they don't have anything to lose. All PlayStation has to do at this point, they don't have to spend a dime. All they have to do is this. We want it for 10 years. That's not adequate. We want it longer. And it's not their nuts that are in a vice. It's Microsoft. It's Xbox. It's Activision. They're the ones that have everything to lose by bending the knee to PlayStation. Let me read Hargeet Chani's. Hargeet Chani's so smart. He said, thank you, Hargeet. He says, Microsoft and Activision should do the opposite. Guarantee that COD will not be made for 10 years. What? Not make the game? He said, let's see how the entire gaming industry folds because this one game isn't around. Yeah. And he goes, give me a break. And I can hear his voice. Guys, react to Hargeet's craziness. I love it.
Hargeet is right in the spirit of what he's saying. He's being facetious there, but instead, it's one game. It's one game in a sea of games. It's a very big game. It's a force, absolutely, but it's one game in one genre. Nintendo does very well without Call of Duty. Splatoon 3 is selling gangbusters. Here you go. Here's an example of making a shooter, online shooter on Nintendo that does really well. Sony, you bought Bungie. Why don't you put your money to good use and actually get them to build a good exclusive game? Forget the independence. Keep them exclusive. It kills. Look, I know it's going to look like this is emotive Xbox guys backing big monolithic trillion-dollar company. But even if you pull away my Xbox bias, it just looks it looks bad.
You're not the only one.
And I just want more competition. Let us compete. No, but I can't do it. My cough is still quite bad. I can't go that high. But no, Huggy.
I mean, you're high. Right. Your voice is high pitched already. So
yeah, it is. It's pretty high.
I'm going to find this quote from Ryan McCaffrey. He sounds, and it's not just. I really like Ryan McCaffrey. It's not just you. It's not just Xbox fans. It's not diehard Xbox. It's mostly everybody. You look at that little pocket, that little lint covered with like the fingernail stuck in the bottom, that little lint covered pocket of the little PlayStation fanboys who'll fight against reason. But, Ryan McCaffrey tries really hard to make sure that he comes off as, fair and balanced when it comes to this. But he says, let me find it. Oh my gosh, why isn't it like right here? Clearly, Microsoft's PR strategy to help push the Activision Blizzard deal past regulators is to send Phil out to anyone who will listen and have him repeat, Call of Duty will stay on PlayStation over and over until regulators believe him. And then he has a story that they wrote on IGN about it. But I think it's funny he's being really facetious there. Like, what else do you have to do? How many times has Randall Thor made a video that PlayStation is going to keep Call of Duty, right? How many times? I've made like 5 videos. Rand said he's made like 20 where you just keep updating. Oh, hey, guess what? Phil Spencer, the boss of Xbox and Microsoft Gaming, this guy, Phil Spencer, yeah, he said Call of Duty is going to keep staying on PlayStation.
But, bro, the thing that makes this so ridiculous is if it was Sony and it actually had bank and it could buy and do this, do you think in a million years that they would even offer Call of Duty beyond the contract, let alone for 3 years? Forget 10. 3 years? No chance.
Stop for a second. Go back and pretend that you're PlayStation and you're buying Activision Blizzard. Now, close your eyes. Close your eyes for a second, Gaz. Audience, close your eyes. Pretend you're PlayStation. What happens to Call of Duty when they buy Activision? Gaz, go ahead.
Nothing. I mean, if they buy PlayStation,
I truly believe that they would make it somehow some type of exclusive. Absolutely.
Not only would it make it exclusive, or if regulators were coming at them, they would still have the incentives on PlayStation. They have been marketing any exclusive content to themselves. They wouldn't even, they would never do what Microsoft does. And some people go, oh, but Bungie's independent. Bungie made it a condition that if you're going to acquire us, we remain independent. That was that studio's mandate.
Sure, and they've been that way for a while. They've had that attitude.
Because they've been burnt by Activision. They were burnt by being under Microsoft, and they felt like stifled there. Go to Activision, they royally burned them, and now they said fine. Yeah. And then Sony paid over the odds for it. $3 billion for that. That's a desperate move. I'll maintain that. Absolutely. It may be a smart move in the long term, but it's just hypocritical, and I'm so sick of this deal. But I know you talked to Phil, and if Phil's listening, I hope your team has that hunger and the anger and the fire to say, you know what, we won't be pushed around. At the same time, Microsoft should also have the fire to deliver great exclusives as well. What?
No, keep going. I moved the layout and it's not quite in the right place, so I'll fix it.
No, well, while you're doing that, I'll read Meat Puppet 007's $10 super chat. Thank you for that. He goes, in my opinion, Sony's just butthurt over COD and Game Pass and maybe some of these exclusive things on Xbox because they know if they lose Call of Duty, they won't have much left with the revenue. Call of Duty, they rely on it for their revenue. Ultimately, that's being snatched away from them. And really, that's what it is. Now, if Sony has not commented yet, the attitude should be Sony needs to come in, cap in hand, and rush to Microsoft and say, okay, 10 years, we're done. Thank you. Thank you for that. We'll sign that. Except they've said nothing. They've commented and then we refuse to talk about this after this company that spent $70 billion. Why is Sony acting like it has put that money on the table? Microsoft put this money on the table. Yes, Sony are the ones who are acting like kings here. And I just don't think that flies. Like, that should not be the case. Gamer Boy Choice, Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Because if the APK deal is keeping other deals from completing, then Microsoft is probably just wanting the deal done so they can move on to other deals. That's also another great point. All this stalling is allowing Sony to mobilize and buy out more studios as well, whilst Microsoft is stuck. It's frozen tactically as a result of this massive deal. And if it wasn't for ABK, you can bet your ass Crystal Dynamics would be with Microsoft. It would be an Xbox first-party studio. Embracer wouldn't have been able to swallow it up because Microsoft would have intervened. The synergy between Crystal Dynamics and Microsoft would have been great. And it would have been a lot of utility for Xbox that needs its like we always say, big AAA third-person games, they would have delivered it. And that's the thing, that as it stalls, Microsoft risks losing opportunities like that. So it is in the interest. They really need to get it done. Diablo needs to be on Game Pass. When is that coming out? March or something?
March. Yeah.
Well, you know, that will add pressure on Microsoft, because Diablo being on Game Pass would be astronomical. Diablo's going to be huge either way.
I mean, they want it. They want it at launch. I think at this point they just hope that everything lines up. Otherwise, I think it'll go to Game Pass as soon as it can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, oh my gosh, right as that Reaper comes in, we have 666 people watching the show. Hit the like button if you'd like Gaz and I to move on from the ABK thing. I've got a couple more supers, I think. You left with Gamer by Choice. We got Agent Shadow Wolf. It says Sony has a lot of exclusive shooters they could use, like Resistance, Killzone, SOCOM, and yet they're not using them. Sony should be trying to be competitive versus COD. They have the talent to do it. And Agent, I think there might be one or two of those dormant franchises that PlayStation must be bringing back, because right now, all we know about is Wolverine and Spider-Man, and we don't know the rest of their generation at all.
I'm telling you, SOCOM is coming back. I'm telling you, they're working on another first person. The old IPs are coming back. They're buying time. They can do it, but they're concealing it from the regulators. They're just buying time. It's all an act on Sony's part. I'm sorry, that's what it is. That's why they bought Bungie. They're buying time. We've said it. And you will see it this gen, that they will release these games, because they have no other choice. It's coming.
Jason Lewan says Bungie should bring back Killzone for PlayStation. I don't really love Killzone or Guerrilla Games Killzone, so I'd like to see it different. Mike with the Canadian 5 says regulators have allowed Sony to completely hijack the agenda and further prove they do not have the industry's best interests at heart. And Mike, I agree. I feel like when you have a playground scuffle, someone kicks someone else and pulls someone's hair, the first one that runs to the recess playground teacher is the one who gets all preferential treatment. And I feel like Sony is the one that ran to the playground teacher and said, "She pulled my hair," and we've all been there, right?
And there's only two regulators that passed the deal: Saudi Arabia and Brazil. And if there's any common sense and any equity in this whole thing, then all regulators would have followed the rationale that Cade did, because they really nailed it. They're like, it's not our job to protect one competitor in this space. There are other players in this space. You don't just need Call of Duty. Nintendo's doing it. It's just all the things we've been saying.
Riddy 5000, thank you so much, says, please think of the children. Oh, not the Xbox children. Ooh, just the beautiful PlayStation children. Quote, Jim Ryan. Not really quote. Gamer by Choice says, I think Microsoft's just wanting the deal done so they can acquire other things. Gaz just said that. I think you're spot on. He says, Sony's trying to delay to make Microsoft give concessions to get the deal done. Assassin says, what's that?
A hectic world. Also, you missed a super chat. He says 10-year deal doesn't mean 10 years of COD. 10 CODs. You're right. I was thinking that as well. Biannual affair. That's what it's going to be. That Microsoft has said. So realistically, 5 Call of Duty games. Xbox will stop the annual release of Call of Duty. He's right.
That's still a long time. It's a long time in a lot of games. And 10 years is a long time. Gamer by Choice says, I think, we got that one. Assassin says, if we truly want Microsoft to fight with everything they've got, how would we as a community do it? Acquire more third-party studios or go down Sony's level and pay for massive timed exclusives?
Good question.
They're doing both. Microsoft is still buying timed exclusives, right? Guys, they've got some deals
don't want
going.
Microsoft to go down. I hate third-party exclusivity deals. Like, it does nothing really. It just deprives one party of the other.
If a third-party exclusive does really well, like scores really well for Xbox, like it launches and it gets like an 84, they're like, man, it's just coming to PlayStation. And if it does terrible, they're like, ha ha, you guys beta tested that crappy game. Eternal Jedi says Bungie may have said that gas, but about the independence. But I guess there is some type of situation from Sony on certain things they can't do. Remember that crossplay charge? Oh yeah, remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust Sony. I don't trust Sony whatsoever. When it comes to business, it's ruthless and two-faced. And Microsoft is being very kumbaya. But I at least hope that this $1 trillion company has some wits about it. I want James Allard's attitude with Phil. I'm not saying Phil Spencer doesn't have it. Phil Spencer may be if he was listening to this, he's like, shut up, Gaz. We know what we're doing. Call of Duty going PlayStation is nothing compared to what our grand aims are with ABK as a whole and what we have planned with future acquisitions, because they've already confirmed that they are interested in future acquisitions. I'm just saying, I'm just sick and tired of these concessions being made for the market leader. Like, why like that? Like, it's the victim. But Sony has behaved so anti-consumer this gen. If I find it hard to feel sympathy for them when they're just sat there gobbling up other studios, consolidating like they are, making fun of Microsoft when they acquired Bethesda, saying, "Oh, organic." Remember, all our acquisitions are organic. Then they buy the studio that made the Xbox flagship title. Are you joking?
I've got a great tweet here from a follower of mine. I wonder if I can find it. It's so funny. While you were talking, I wanted to put this Vampire Survivor gameplay up because you and I played the game for like 5 hours straight one day, and we were laughing so hard. Let me see if I can find this. This guy, $8 Musk on Twitter. Let's see how many followers. He's got 4 followers, but he was arguing with a PlayStation guy on one of my tweets. He says, "Hey, bud." He's talking to a PlayStation guy. PlayStation has only created 9 studios. Xbox has created 8. Currently, they both have 22 studios. Both companies have bought majority of their studios. Cope. I thought, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. I don't know if his numbers are exactly right, but I know they both bought a lot. And he shows it's just the name of the game. Let's move on. So funny. I didn't want to rain on your parade, guys, but I was actually setting you up to talk about what's going on with Twitter, and we're both so ADD that you went right into Activision. And I don't know why
Twitter's a complete show right now. Yeah, I don't know what Elon Musk is doing. He just feels like, obviously he's quite intelligent because the richest man in the world, and Tesla and space rockets and all of that. But his behavior has been so weird. It's like this meme kid out there just really beating his chest. And some of the stuff, look, I'm not going to politicize the whole thing, but if you're a worker and you see an email where you guys, you're going to work super hard, like it, you're going to work extra hard hours, and if you don't like it, go away. And trust me, the email is a lot worse than I make it sound. And I'm like, horrible boss, man. Like, that's the attitude. Where's the carrot? What incentive are you offering? Why do you treat your staff like they're just cogs in a machine? And then you postulate about these grandstanding ideas of freedom of speech and empowering everyone by monetizing Twitter and these blue check marks. Like, are you serious, bro?
I just polled the audience. Do you regularly use Twitter? And I had a feeling most people don't. And I wonder where people get a lot of their like up to the minute gaming news. You can get it from Reddit or whatever. And I use it pretty regularly.
Game on Daily, the app. Watch this space.
Yes, you need an app bad. I don't know. It's 67% say they don't regularly use it, but so I'll keep this brief. But Elon Musk went. Apparently, I don't know how many, like 7,000 people got laid off. He went into this place he bought, and there's all these people who are living fat off the land of Twitter. Twitter's huge, just like all these Facebook employees. It got so big that you can get a job there and get a spicy iced tea and all iced tea and all this whatever.
The
right?
video.
The video.
Oh, I've just joined Twitter. It's a hard day. I'm gonna go in there, make a little coffee. You want a massage? I'm gonna get a massage. It's team time. And then all are having fun. It's just like there was a lot of bloat. It seems like at Twitter they're having a fun ride, and now he's cut the fat. And there is an argument to be made that there is a lot of nonsense going on there. But he's weird. But why are we talking about him?
I don't know. It's just the whole thing was that somebody on Twitter explained that he did this thing where he just came in and he made this impossible deadline and cut all the fluff that had been like riding on the fat cat for so long. But it's just interesting where you can get your news, because you can't get news bites like that you can quickly check out on YouTube or Instagram, right? You probably, where are you going to get them if you're looking for news? And Reddit can be quite a mess, but
Twitter has like less than a quarter of the full users like Facebook has. It's actually tiny as far as social media apps are concerned, but for news and that kind of discourse, it's massive. For me, it's huge. Since I only figured out how to use Twitter in the last 2 years. I made my account that's a few years old. I didn't even know how to use Twitter until I came on and in this space as a content
I didn't
creator.
start using until about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And I don't want to make a big deal about it. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think something will get cleaned up, but who cares? Let's talk about the biggest.
Gaz sometimes sounds like Stewie. How do I sound like Stewie? God.
Give us a Stewie quote. Say, do you want some Cool Whip?
You want some Cool Whip? You want some Cool Whip? Maybe I do sound like that.
I'm gonna need you to walk in the room with a little shirt and just a pair of some diapers on and do that. That'd be great. And then just send that video just to me. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the biggest L that was ever found upon the land. An L that came out from a shining scimitar. An L of epic proportions of the Unreal Engine 5.1. You and I have been talking on this show for quite a while about, are we looking into 30 FPS? What's going on with the consoles? We're not even using the power. We're all doomed. No games they're going to drop the Series S. Gaz, what happened just a few days ago with that? You remember?
Yeah, I do remember. It's just some people I have been on this whole Series S is really underpowered. Series S is holding next gen back. Some devs have espoused that it's doing that, and we've had multiple developers like say what they have in support of it. I've talked about this before. Digital Foundry did a really good piece with their podcast. They talked about this very topic, and Unreal Engine, the big testing, like the litmus test for the Series S and its future sustainability as a next-gen piece of hardware or current-gen hardware, is its ability to handle Unreal Engine 5 and those games. And a lot of people were saying, well, you can't run a UE5. That's the big test. Or that well at 60 frames. It's all going to be relegated to 30 frames. But Unreal have come out and said, no, we're working on, what is it? 5.1?
5.1. Yeah.
And they said they are working on it, and all consoles will support 60 FPS, or they're going to do that, including the Series S. They're going to be working on, what is it? They're working on a tool set or just developing that engine so it does 60 frames on consoles. I personally was still a bit concerned about that, because Unreal Engine 5 does eat a lot, and those games look intense. And I will say this, I don't mind the 30 frames. I will always laugh at console guys who have recently been emboldened by the 60 FPS revelation. Yeah, Cole, don't do that face. Don't do that face. Why are console gamers so now all got their monocle like, oh no, is that 30 frames? I'm not going to touch that. I'm like, you touched that for bloody 3 console gens. Why are you guys so bold? When I was going to move to PC because it was 60 frames, everyone was like, who cares? It's all about res.
Is that 30 frames?
Is that 30 frames? I will try Stewie Family Guy quotes. That guy has now put that in my head.
Okay, so there is a little bit to unpack with that, because, of course, your knee-jerk reaction is to get a little bit. I'm searching up that thing. Your knee-jerk reaction is to get worried about what's going to happen. Let's talk about nanites. Nanites is supposed to be that super impressive, like millions and millions of polygons. The girl in the demo walks in this cave, and there's like hundreds of statues with ornate objects all over the shields and the armor. And she walks through there, and they pause it, and they're like, this is made up of millions of pixels. That's really, really intensive to do. And they're able to form different, environments. This Unreal Engine 5.1 shows that, and I watched a great video where there's a valley, like a forest valley, and the guy zooms out and goes, when you have level of detail, every time you zoom out a certain distance, the trees will be replaced with flat billboard 2D cutouts. Because from afar, they look great. And then when you zoom in or you get closer, they cross-dissolve into the higher detailed 3D model. Then when you get really close, it cross-blur dissolves into the really nice-looking trees. And he said with Unreal Engine 5, you no longer have to do that. You just make the trees. You don't have to have level of detail scales that are like, like they measure it. Like when you get to a certain point, now transition to the higher performance needing objects. And you've done that. They've done that for decades in video games.
Yeah.
So now they're able to have full 3D that casts their own shadows. And the best thing he said for the developers, it's really easy for them to make environments this way. It doesn't take nearly as long as it used to with level of detail. That also means that frees them up to add performance efficiency, which is also in the engine. So there's a lot to look into. And unfortunately, I made a video like 4 days before this update. Yes, thank you. And then this update
Unity
came.
Stuff as well. Yeah. And then the update came after your video as well, which kind of ratified everything you were talking about Unreal Engine 5 and scalability and the Series S. So you kind of like, you should pat yourself on the back on that because you were on the money there. you were on the money there. And then,
some people, they look at things and they just go, the sky is flowing, soccer. And but I've been reading developer testimonies, development things with games, game engine. There's a channel on YouTube called like the Unreal Sensei, and he's an expert in the Unreal Engine as a developer, and he made his own YouTube channel. So he says, here's how you do this, here's how you do that, here's how this is made, this is how this is possible, this is how this is done in a game, and it like pulls back the curtain. And I've been watching that stuff for a while, and when I hear people like from the periphery, right, guys, they're just like, yeah, it's going to be 30 frames, it's just going to be too demanding, and hardware's blah blah blah. I'm like, you're just making that up. You're just making it up.
And we're just falling for the scare tactics, but it's just like, well, we haven't even really properly seen this cross-gen period come to an end.
We're not even out of it.
That's the thing. The biggest L this generation, this console generation, is that we're still sitting on cross-gen. And
hold on. Pixel Slappa said, you made a video about gold. Colt, stop flexing. I will keep flexing.
Slapper sucks.
Game. he
Has
does
just crap messages. He just crap messages.
I also said, this is my favorite one. I didn't say this publicly because it never came up, but everyone always gets me about, you said Dying Light 2 is going to be exclusive. You said Dying Light 2 is going to be exclusive. It's like, yeah, I did in 2020, right? Yeah, I did. And then the next week I made another video where I explained how that rumor was debunked completely. But people are like, but I have a screenshot of the thumbnail and I keep it in my breast pocket because I'm Pixel Slapper. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But here's the best part, guys. I also have 3 videos saying Dead Island 2 is coming this year or next year. And no one says anything about that because Dead Island 2 never came. And it never came. And it never came. Now it's finally coming. And I'm like 2 years too late. No one cares about that because they're like, oh, but the console wars says, you said games with gold will be free. And that's what Xbox wants to do. They're just not even there yet. And I hate that they're not there yet. They need to be there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Let me grab a super... let me ask you first while I get ready to read this. How dank is Vampire Survivor?
Look, someone in chat, I saw you say, like, this game looks rubbish. Wait till you play it. I'll show you the screen. Oh, I don't know if it's a bit...
It is serotonin at 8 bits.
I have played it. My mates who have said it. I want to show you my WhatsApp message because if I didn't have epilepsy before, I do now. It's too addictive. Like, my mate who plays on everything, really, he didn't know about... he's PC gamer predominantly. He played my mate Dean. He's just like,
wait,
what is
who
this?
said this is rubbish?
Someone in chat said it.
The funny thing is, this game, by all rights, like this would go to Superior Court. This would be pushed across the judge's desk, like level 19. That this game should be Game of the Year nomination over Stray, easily.
100%. 1,000,000,000,000%. This game should be over Stray. I think I'm not hating on the Stray devs. I what, I was hyped for Stray. I took that on my Steam Deck when I was flying to Thailand, playing it on a plane, and it's so squished plane, bored out of it, and I still didn't want to play Stray. I'm like, what is this? This is a bit
You're like this?
rubbish. Yeah, it was kind of like
How
that.
am I gonna enjoy this?
My friend is like muscles on muscles. He's sitting next to me, and I'm like in the middle. I'm like, and I just
got his
couldn't
elbow
play
in your
Stray.
chin.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just someone in chat says it looks like a mobile game. Forget the looks. The game is just addictive. It just
I hate to burst your bubble.
release.
The most popular games in the world look like they could run on a phone. The most profitable games in the world.
Roblox.
We're going to talk
Fortnite.
about the Game Awards nominations because I think there's a couple of key ingredients that are missing from. And I've always respected the jury that Jeff puts together because they work in the industry. And I'm like, it's all their opinions. What are you going to do? Argue their opinion? So I've always stayed out of that part of it. But I think there's some key ingredients when you pick a game that should be Game of the Year that are missing. I want to talk about them in just a minute. Let me read this couple supers here.
Yeah.
Sith Lord says, thanks, Sith Lord. I hope you're doing well. He just came home from the hospital last week. So he said, hi, guys. Gaz, hope your kidney operation went well. I get to see my kidney transplant doctor next Thursday. His real kidney transplant, because I made the joke that someone's going to take your kidney in Thailand. He says, at the Wisconsin University so I can get on the list. So, fingers crossed and everything that comes along with that, Sith. Hope everything goes well. Highlander says, Jim Ryan should hope Phil Spencer is in a forgiving mood. I can see Microsoft coming out next year, buying into developers so games can go into Game Pass. And yes, I think they will. Dickie Darling, great Dickie Darling says, only played Vampire Survivor last week. Addictive. And Danny Passion Official says, hey, let's go. Let's go with
Danny.
Danny's awesome. Gaz, we're talking about Vampire Survivors. We talked about Stray. Let's talk about the Game of the Year nominations.
Oh god, not this again. After all the nonsense drama I had to put up with this weekend over that.
So somebody clipped and quote tweeted a part of your discussion. You had the incredible ACG on your show. What a freaking podcast you guys had. Went like 3.5 hours or something. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But you guys talked about the Game Awards. Can you guide us through some of the shortcomings? There's the deadline and then there's the picks. Like, what's going on with the Game Awards and why is it not good enough?
For people who aren't on Twitter or who don't follow me and this whole what happened was we had ACG and we had Neo GameSpark on our show, and we were talking about the inadequacy of the Game Awards generally and how it functions. Because ultimately, it was our view and it's my view that it's inadequate in that there's no transparency. You've got a list of publications, they vote for these games and they nominate, and that's it. And I think the gaming industry has evolved to such an extent, and it's so nuanced. There's such a breadth of experiences that in a gaming sphere, an interactive medium, you need to have a mission statement or fixed parameters or something, an agreed consensus amongst these judges who vote. So then we know on what basis you are nominating these games.
I mean, I'm sure they do have rules and guidelines about why you would pick a game over others, but do they not tell us what those categories are? That's what you're saying. So
everyone's like, but Jeff Keighley's made it very clear in the website and on the FAQ website, which I read clearly. What does it say? How the number of votes are made, but what's the rationale behind those votes? Why is Stray in there as opposed to a myriad of other games? We just want to know that because we like this. We love this medium. We want to know, understand. There's so many talented devs out there, so many games out there, so many games that always get snubbed. I'm going to appease everyone. Again, it's subjective, but what are the criteria for these people to vote for it? Like, even Game of the Year, is that even an appropriate kind of award? Because you're going to have Marvel Snap versus Elden Ring? Like, what makes it better? What type of game makes it better? There were so many discussions. It was such a nuanced chat, maybe existential, really, on a topic like this.
I talked to somebody that was on the panel about that, and they said that that they shouldn't be picking a game of the year. They need to highlight a certain amount of games each year. And I thought that was really weird coming from someone who had voted and put in their opinion and their key votes for a set amount of games.
It's just a discussion because
I'm fine with them picking what is the best game overall, but I don't know.
I just think it's not. The Game Awards for me is all about the announcements. If we can bear through all the adverts and sponsorship, it's really just the new announcements. Because ultimately, like whatever the Game Awards decide is Game of the Year, it doesn't change my opinion on what is my favorite game that year. Ultimately, it doesn't change that for all of us. Sure. But with that prestige, the show has prestige. It has weight. So there's an opportunity to really add some credibility there by making it very abundantly clear. Every nominee or judge, in a nomination has to assess what is Game of the Year, for instance, based
Paris! Paris said Game of the Year is the opposite of whatever Gaz wants it to be.
But what is it going to be? Paris, substantiate your view, because I saw his little nonsense tweet on Twitter. I'll tell you what it is, because someone actually DM'd it to me. He goes, look at this tweet. Here it is. I've got it here. This is a screenshot in a DM. Because he disagrees with Jeremy Pinter. He goes, ACG, Jeremy Pinter, he said it's corrupt. And my interpretation of his word corrupt is the systematically corrupt, not that Jeff Keighley's corrupt and he's handing money over
and he
there.
Said he said that he doesn't believe the jury is corrupt. Yeah, he clarified that, but go ahead.
He says systematically it's corrupt because you've got X number of people. There's no transparency. They vote for these publications and boom, 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 done. And there are no set parameters. Paris Lily then replies, it's not corrupt. And I respect Jeremy's opinion, but we disagree on this one. My advice is to treat the TGAs as a celebration of all games. Kumbaya, kumbaya. What does that mean? And the people who make them, the nominations and winners will always be subjective. Yes, Paris. Yes, it's always subjective. But what precludes us in this space to having a fixed set of ideals so everyone can agree on them and have a invigorate discussion about, all right, what? Because we postulated on impact. That's a good metric to assess.
Yes,
whether or not.
Let's talk about impact for a moment, because everyone's wondering, is it's going to be Elden Ring or it's going to be God of War Ragnarok? And then after God of War Ragnarok comes out, some of these pass the reviews, right? Some of these opinions from fans are like, it's really, really good. It looks great. Because I'm right there. The best part of God of War Ragnarok is everything that the characters say, the presentation in which they say it, and the slow times when you're walking and you're getting exposition is really great. But then the pacing's way off. So you hear some of these complaints, but the impact, like that has to have such a strong weight.
Even impact is tricky
a game of the year,
well.
Because I remember last year, Paris said Death's Door is one of his, at that point, that was his game of the year. And I know where he's coming from, because when you play the game, you're like, this is really great. And everyone was talking about this little game that took people by surprise. And I feel like sometimes the game of the year is not the game that took you by surprise or had a major impact. Some of these things aren't weighing in properly. Like you said, we don't know what the criteria are that they vote on. And I think that Jeff has been really good at being transparent. Here's the jury. Here's the deadline.
Man.
Right?
Bro, these are the basic components of what it is. He says, this is how the jury's picked. Some of them get press releases of games, some don't. And that's how they make a vote on it. Okay, fine. That's a very basic approach to it. I'm just saying, you come and elevate it in this elevated space. You've kindly got the prestige of this great show. Respect. I'm not crapping on Jeff Keighley. I like the Game Award shows.
I love the show, yeah.
But gaming is so deep, like there's so much there. How can you assess impact? Now, when you're talking about God of War and Elden Ring, those two are the front runners for Game of the Year.
Sure.
One of these games is going to win. I'm not going to say which. I personally, with having played, but I love God of War Ragnarok. I'm kind of hooked on that. But at the same time, if I assess what Elden Ring did for the industry this year, for the gaming space this year, I have never seen a game that was once, and it sounds silly to say this now, a niche game or niche genre.
Sure, yeah.
Pushed up to the masses. It was that watershed moment. It made devs rethink about game design, about excessive hand-holding versus offering this blank canvas in an open world, so much content and so much diversity, the lack of hand-holding, just pure art. That's what Elden Ring is. But I don't think God of War Ragnarok is doing that. Despite the fact that it's an excellent game, I'm playing it already about 10 hours in or whatever, and I'm loving it. And the fact that it's 35 hours for the core story, I love what Sony have done. Studio Santa Monica have done with God of War Ragnarok. They deserve the credit for that. Xbox, fix your shit, because you need games like that. But impact, you have to be. This is what Paris, you missed the show. This is what, when he said corrupt, don't take it at face value and say, oh, bloody, what's his name, Jeff Keighley's corrupt, or there's something horrible or dishonest or something maniacal going on there. He was talking about systematically seems corrupt because there's so much to gaming, and these game awards don't tackle that in assessing what really deserves to be a game. We even agreed that a Game of the Year award was a bit redundant because you have genre of all these different genres. Also, even by its own accord, how is Sifu a fighting game? Why is that in that category? Like, look, Jeff Keighley has to find his feet. No one is infallible, but I went back to my podcast last year just because people were like, oh, you didn't have any complaints last year, and I'm thinking, are you joking? We had so many complaints last year, including why is Forza not nominated because it's just a racer. I went back to my podcast and I said, look, there's always going to be controversy with the game awards because it's subjective in nature, and next year you're going to see the controversy, and lo and behold, here we are. But if Jeff Keighley's not going to do it, someone else will do it. Why is it not in December? Why isn't January to December? Because advertising.
I talked to him about that on his Spaces last year,
and he said advertisers.
He said advertising drives. It fuels the show. Like he doesn't have the show if he doesn't have the advertisers, and you're not going to do it in January, February when advertising revenue for everyone in the industry is down. Like it could essentially cut your revenue in half. But here's the problem with the deadline. The problem with the deadline, Gaz, is Forza Horizon 5 made the deadline, but the jury had already cast their votes in, and they were perfectly allowed to go back, pull one of their games, and add in Forza Horizon 5 if they felt like it deserved to be there. Oh, this is a great moment.
If I give them the benefit of the doubt, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they didn't do it because they just simply don't see races as something that inhabit that.
Sure. And I don't think even how great her Forza Horizon series is, it just doesn't feel like a Game of the Year game for like the world. For me, it might be. When I look back at 2018, I really liked God of War, but I loved Spider-Man, and I really loved Red Dead Redemption 2. And probably Red Dead Redemption 2 had the most impact on me visually, gameplay, story, emotionally, and just everything that the game did. That should be Game of the Year, right? But it went to God of War. But then again, I would, if I was on the jury, I might have put a vote way up on Forza Horizon 4 because I played like 300-400 hours of it, and it never stopped giving me happiness playing the game. But I don't. I wonder sometimes if the jury just thinks, what is the world? I need to make my votes. What does the world think deserves?
What is the jury thinking? We just want to know, what are the parameters in your nomination? Let us at least know that. Is that criminal to ask for? A set case of ideals. Here is the criterion. All jury members, we assess Game of the Year based on impact and innovation in the space, or to capture that brief moment. Overwatch still annoys a lot of PlayStation hardcore fanboys. Uncharted 4 was snubbed. I'm sorry. Anyone who thinks Uncharted 4 got snubbed, the fourth iteration of this third-person almost near linear game versus Overwatch, that was this massive moment in the game. Talk about impact. Overwatch deserved to win it. Forza Horizon, I'm not that salty over, because I think races, it's a bit of a discredit to races and the hard work of Playground Games. But I personally, it's a fourth series. In fact, if you call God of War Ragnarok DLC Forza Horizon, you can call the same thing. You just change the map and just added a few extra modes.
Yeah.
But there's just so much to it. That's all it was. So in this last week, I've been battling. So the PlayStation fanboys said, "Oh, Pentiment. So this is an Xbox issue." And I literally said, Xbox deserves nothing this year. Forget Xbox out of the equation. The reason Pentiment was mentioned was because you announced the nominees before Pentiment was even released. A game that fared better critically in reviews, along with a lot of other games. Why is Stray there? I think Sifu should replace Stray. Another PlayStation launch console exclusive. But it's subjective.
Stray was just a weird, and it had nothing to do with a PlayStation game or third party, whatever. It was just like Stray. And when you think about Impact, gosh, I can't even say it because you will reach your hand across the Atlantic Ocean and punch me. But like there are games that had more of an impact than Stray. And gosh, I'll just say it. Forgive me, chat. Grounded had more of an impact. Like it had just as many people talking about it. There's 13 million people playing Grounded. And Grounded I didn't expect Grounded to get nominated. Not at all. It was my personal game of the year so far. But Sifu had way bigger impact. But it's not all about impact. Like
cats. It's just cats.
Paris says, I'm on the jury, by the way, and he may be on the jury through Gamertag Radio. I was looking at the jury, one of his affiliations.
Now we know why.
But listen, you have to ground this, like, immediately. You have to set your feet on the ground on this discussion. Because I talked to someone who was also on the jury about this, and I said, these awards are not for us. They're not for content creators. They're not made for big gaming fans. They're really supposed to be for the developers and the publishers. It's their moment to celebrate. And this person that was on the jury said some things about the Game Awards pull away that celebration from the gaming development community as a whole, right? And so it's not for us, but us as fans, like you said, Gaz, it is a vehicle for us to see game reveals and announcements. And it's done that really well. Of course, you can filter out the Lindsey Sterling doing like 18-minute Final Fantasy, all that stuff, right? If you don't love that stuff. Or The Rock showing off his energy drink for 8 minutes. You're like, come on. It's usually really 2 minutes, but it feels like 8. Come on. When you take a step back and you think, when did we see? Oh, we saw that at the Game Awards. For us, we shouldn't be piddling and pattering about who wins or who doesn't.
No, I disagree with that. Look,
fight me.
Bro, competition, sometimes there are winners and losers in life.
Of
this
course.
Game and this industry thrives on competition. We should acknowledge the successes and the hard work and achievements and accolades of all devs. Paris, and when I say you're being kumbaya, I understand you're very nice about that, but I feel like we should be thorough in rewarding true innovation, true games that impact the masses, so that it steers the industry forward. That accolade has weight. Right now, if you just resign to the opinion that it's all subjective anyway, and then just base nominations decide a winner, and I think it just doesn't do anything to elevate the award. The award is then just, it devalues it. It's one of those, like nowadays, the participation award. Well done, you tried. And I'm like, I'm not of that generation. I'm of that generation. Like my dad was like, what did you do? I was like, oh, I worked really hard, Dad. Like, I don't care. What's your end result? And I've been brought up that way, and it's made me better at what I do, because ultimately it's just life. It's just the different way of thinking. I think the industry needs to be more, there needs to be an award show. If the Game Awards won't do it, someone has to devise a set of parameters. I could do it. You know, I'm very strongly considering doing that. Very strongly sitting there and sharing with people and saying, should this be these agreed principles? Obviously, there's going to be dissenting opinion there, but it's just a different opinion. And people think this is a Xbox versus PlayStation thing. It's not. Pentiment I would not vote for it. I haven't even played for it. Look, ACG got raked through the coals by these fanboys. Like, oh, ACG is so biased. Oh, yeah. ACG's review says he doesn't like Pentiment. Readers watch his review and come back to me and tell me it's biased.
Yeah, no, but, he's not. He's not biased at all.
It's just passion about it. I don't want to discredit anyone. Paris, I'm not having a go at you at it. I just disagree a lot of the times with the manner in which you come at it because you're very nice about things. But the world isn't nice. And I like a little bit of competition, a little bit of fire.
I don't think Paris voted for Stray. That's my guess is I don't think he voted for Stray. Knowing the games he talked about all year, he probably didn't vote for Stray. He probably had votes in other places. And that's just how it is. I don't know. Unless the jury was bigger, but I don't know. It just seems like such a weird thing to fight over. What was this? Danny Passion official says God of War won't win Game of the Year. Sony needs to look weak. I'm like, no, come on. God
of War can win Game of the Year. I don't think it deserves Game of the Year because Elden Ring did something so incredible. I say don't deserve.
Let's talk about what you said about sequels. Like, what was the game you were talking about a few minutes ago when you said we'd already done that before? I can't remember what it was because you reminded me of heading that direction with the. Bear said, "Okay, Gaz, at E3 we can fight." Gaz, I will bring you an exosuit so you can have a fighting chance.
It's time to load up on the steroids. I'm gonna be
Paris will kill you with the smile, and then it'll be over. So let's talk about Elden Ring because I don't like Dark Souls games. I've messed around with them, and I'm like, nah. There was something about Elden Ring where I was like, oh my gosh, I am playing this, and it was an impact. There was a big impact with that game, and everyone was talking about it.
I've hardly gone into Elden Ring because it's so daunting, and I will spend time on it. I've taken my last annual leave. I have been forced to take it because my work doesn't even let me take annual leave sometimes. But I will play Elden Ring. I haven't played it. I'll complete God of War before Elden Ring. But I recognize, Elden Ring took me by surprise. The same mate, by the way, who texted me about Vampire Survivors, he was crying. He's such a whingy sod. He was like, "Why are you? Everyone's hyped about this Elden Ring game, Gaz. Is it actually all right?" I'm like, "Mate, you either love it or you hate it." And he's so critical. And he said, "Mate, this is the best game possibly I've ever played in my life." And he plays a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And he said, "I've never seen a game like this. Like, a game doesn't hold your hands. The world is amazing. The enemy designs are incredible. What is that? The wonderment, the sense of scale, the achievement, the sheer variety. The game is never ending. It's so daunting even for a core gamer like me. That to me, you're not going to get Elden Rings, that kind of experience. That's a watershed moment in gaming, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That took the world by storm. For me, the impact is profound.
There was so much hype, and the hype delivered, right? It had some performance issues at the beginning, but hey, shout out to Alex in the chat. Oh no, it's Alex for stopping by. Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah. Also, your DMs, you piece of but yeah, shout out to Alex. You completely aired me, the piece of ass. You're supposed to be on my show. But yeah, look, for me, it's Elden Ring. God of War wins. I think recency bias, and I know it's going to sound controversial. It's not meant to be. I think recency bias will take a bit of
it's a real thing.
Will be at play there. Of course, it's just human psychology. But
I mean, look, I was loving this one game that
winning Game of the Year. That's for sure.
I was really loving this game that was critically panned last month, and then now that I'm done with it, I look back and I'm like, that was all right. But at the moment, at the time, I was having a great time playing it. Yeah. And that can happen when you review games. I've reviewed a few games, and it's hard to have a really good compass when you're playing the game because you're in the moment, you're having a great time. And then when it's all over and you look back and you're like, did I love it as much as I said I did at the time when it was fresh? And there's recency bias is a real thing. Let's see. We got
but God of War is a great game.
I meant to say this a while ago, but Alex S gives a Canadian $2 and says, Gaz versus Porter Rock on Game On Daily? You've already had him on there.
I've had him on here, despite people here. Portrock pisses me off because I've had him on my show. He thinks I'm blind Xbox, and he goes at this with his lens. I know you don't like him, and he doesn't like you, and that's fine. But I'm trying to appeal to this pony's like, get the tinfoil hat on, have a proper conversation with me. And I think he's a good person. It's just like, there's this fanboyism and this... even the Xbox guys are like this as well.
Some of that I have to be on the winning team gets in the way, but go ahead.
I just want to tear it down. Look, to me, Portrock is, I see him as a nice guy. He's sincere, but the console war lens, we're like almost always on opposing teams. I want Xbox to do really well. He wants PlayStation to do really well. The argument pissed me off though, because I was like, bro, the first thing he quoted, he goes, you guys are Xbox biased. Who? Neo GameSpark? Neo's bloody not an Xbox guy. Acer, he just plays VR. Don't do that. But that's his prerogative. You can do whatever you want. That's a Paris Lee line to tell you what not to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I just appeal to everyone. I try to see, look, people have a go at me all the time. Why did you get Portrock on there? Why did you have Blaze on there? These are my friends. I will go out of my way to defend people that I had arguments with, I have said horrible things about in my Souls videos, because anyway, I digress. But I don't hate Portrock. I like the guy. I'll probably be on his show to discuss this, and it'll be a very fiery show. And if I lose my temper, I will probably lose it on that show.
I doubt it. Hey, we got over 800 people watching. You hit the like button. There should be 7,000 million likes, maybe. Yeah. At least. Now, I don't know. I put a little poll in the chat. I said, what should win Game of the Year, Elden Ring or God of War? Well, that might be there's a lot of fans a lot more people played Elden Ring than God of War. So there'll be a player's choice thing, I'm sure. But we kind of know how that goes. But if you're checking out the show, we're also on Spotify and Apple and Google Podcasts and a couple other platforms that you can check out the show on demand. And let me know if you can put a review in there. If on Spotify and Apple, it lets you get a review and you can say, hey, I really don't like these two guys. They don't know what they're talking about, but dang, they sound sexy. So, do that, right?
All I see is like, I hate Gaz's voice. Get rid of him.
And Colt is so ugly. I'm so glad I listened to this audio on demand now. But we do have a good time, Gaz, don't we? We do have a good time.
Yeah, we do. And honestly, thanks to everyone in chat. You guys are lovely.
It's Alex.
Shout out to 800 people.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and hanging out with Gaz and I. We really appreciate it. We have a good time on the show, and it's good to have you back, bro.
Thank you.
And sorry about the gameplay. I just kind of wanted to put something up while we're talking, but I grabbed a bunch of Fallout clips I'd recorded because I made a Fallout video today, and I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but it was just I don't know. It's an old game. Why not? Oh, no, it's Alex says, who's this Gaz guy? I thought I was your new co-host.
I watched the show with Alex as well. Apart from the end with this $50 bet thing. Yeah.
Oh, Alex my gosh. I was like flush red. And Alex can... he should be a salesperson because like he was really pushing the pressure. Like I felt like I was in high school. Come on, just do it. Yeah, it was bad.
What I love about Alex is that he has no filter, and I appreciate people with no filters. They're honest.
They're very honest. Yeah, we talked for quite a while afterward. It's a good time to hang out and just kind of talk.
DM's a piece of ass.
I told him to ignore you. Hargeet Johnny, thank you so much for the $10 super. He said, like any award show. Now, when Hargeet talks, you have to listen because he knows what he's talking about. Hargeet says, like any award show, if you want an audience, there has to be some level of fairness, and people should generally agree with the nominees and the winners. The Game Awards are way bigger than Oscars now. It matters. Is that true, Gaz? Are
Absolutely.
The Game Awards bigger?
Yes. Why? Audience, people watching it. The gaming industry eclipses the movie industry. That's why, Huggy, you get it. Although I saw your video, 15 minutes writing a letter to CMA. You're part of Game On Daily. You can't do things like that.
Dear CMA, I've been wanting to write this letter for a very, very long time. As you all know, hitherto, And henceforth, yeah. It was very detailed, very detailed. I read it on a party chat with him, and I was like, oh my gosh, Hargy, this is a lot. And he goes, hey, they need to hear it. And I go, they won't read it.
Don't make Microsoft jobs for them, man. But we'll talk about it party chat. I miss your voice, Hargy.
He's great. He's great. Anything else with the Game Award nominations that concerns you that you can think of? I think we're...
Forget the nominations. 2 weeks away. It's what's going to be shown, because Phil Spencer came out and said, I admit we need to show more, and we've had delays and we've showed games too early. What's going to be shown? Because I think Xbox need to show some good stuff here. Hellblade is Hellblade. I want this game to be good. Hellblade 2 could be incredible. If anything, Hellblade 2 should best its predecessor in every department. Visuals is obviously better. Combat was weak in the first one. Make it better. Puzzles were pretty rudimentary and boring and basic. Move the camera to make a shape. They should be better.
Right.
Story, all of that. And I expect Hellblade 2. I'm confident Hellblade 2 is going to be a very good game. But I want to see it at the Game Awards. I want to see... You
think they'll show it for a third time in a row? I think this would be that they debuted it in 2019, and they showed 8 minutes of gameplay last year in 2021. Does Hellblade show up yet again? Like Senua was like, I want to be next to Jeff. So who was it in Doc? I'm probably writing his name, or I'm remembering his name wrong in the chat, said, you're talking about a show with a guy that wears a suit and white sneakers. I really like Jeff. We always make the joke about how he's got those Giuseppe's on, and that's when I learned what those shoes are, and now I have 8 pairs. No, I'm just kidding. I buy my shoes at Walmart. But I forgot where I was going with that, but thanks everybody for being here. We're having a good time.
You're just completely phased out. I'm talking about what games are going to be on the show.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be Hellblade. I think something else is due. Like 2 years overdue. Huh?
From Xbox, 2 years overdue. What do you think that's going to be? What, Fable, Perfect Dark?
I think it's Avowed. Because I think we were... Yeah. Jez Corden from Windows Central was really getting this, little tickle in his ear that Avowed was going to be showed off last year at the Game Awards. Instead, we saw an extended clip of Hellblade. But I think, if you do the math, now that's what I think they should show. But I think we might be seeing some more Starfield, and I'm actually starting to believe. Actually, let me go back to that gameplay for a moment. I'm actually starting to believe, guys. I'll have to scrub it forward a minute, but I'm actually starting. I can't. This screen's so small. I'm actually starting to believe that we may be seeing. Excuse me, we may be seeing Starfield release sooner than later. I was starting to believe that maybe we would see the game in August or maybe September, or pushing it close to like a full year.
Than that.
Huh?
I thought it was going to be longer than that. What makes
November? Excuse me. I think there are some little signs pointed in some people I've talked to where I'm getting an idea that it may not be too far away. I need to do a little bit of math on a couple of particulars first and figure out what I can talk about. But Todd said in the fall that they were doing the polishing stages. So
maybe. Maybe. Starfield comes out early 2023. That's an incredible surprise. I don't think many people are anticipating an early 2023 release, because I personally thought it was going to slip possibly even to 2024. But if it's going to be most likely holiday 2023. But if that comes out early, that's a very strong start for Xbox. It needs to be strong. So that's good. Because I don't think Redfall is particularly strong as such. I think this
right.
I like the way Redfall looks, but it's not obviously in the same level as Starfield, a game that's been in the work for 20 years. If at Microsoft, February release Redfall, boom, here we go, multiplayer, everyone's going playing it. And then maybe when everyone's played it for about a month or so, maybe 2 months later, release Starfield, big, like summertime release. And then you got Forza, you do your typical, I think they typically release in August, September.
De Silva says, I'm not interested in Indiana Jones. It sounds like something for my grandfather.
How young are you? What? Indiana Jones is a legend. Don't you dare say that to us dinosaurs. I am intrigued to see what they will do with Indiana Jones, by the way.
Well, it's funny because Indiana Jones will take place in 1942. And of course you can say, who cares about that old era? But then they're playing video games that take place in like the 10th century or the 3rd century, and they're just loving it. Just lava.
Paris says, if Starfield slips to 2024, I will fight Gaz. You're fighting me in E3 anyway. So I don't want it to slip.
Let me talk about the Starfield and Redfall thing, because Redfall, they've been ramping up their marketing and they've been really vocal, and it just seems like the way that Xbox Bethesda do things, that they may be getting us ready to announce Redfall's release date for February or maybe even January. I don't know, but they might need to get that game out early because they have other stuff. And so I am of the personal opinion that Starfield is pre-June. And I wasn't like that before I had a couple conversations. So
really? Okay. I mean, that would be surprising, but that'd be really good. And
it would be really good because they need it, because Paris had that tweet that everyone, I got so mad that he got attacked over that, where he said, what did he do? I'm sorry, Paris, for paraphrasing you, but he basically said, if they load up the first half of the year and they don't have anything big for the end of the year, people are going to be upset. And I'm paraphrasing him, but I know exactly what he means. If Xbox does another heavy first of the year, then the last half of the year, Xbox fans have nothing to talk about, nothing to play, nothing to share. It will be another problem because they've been 8 years behind. I think Paris is 1,000% justified for saying they need to have they have a good, yes, they have to have a good, thank you. They have to have a good cadence. What Xbox needs to look at right now is have February Redfall, even though February is just a ground zero, or what do you call it? Like it's a terrible time. Redfall in February, Starfield in May or June. Forza Motorsport could actually slip in early summer or late spring. So you could have Redfall, Forza, Starfield for the first half of the year, and then you could have Avowed pushed for almost holiday. And I don't know they have other games that they're going to put out that we don't usually talk about on here. Like they're going to have Age of Empires 4. They're going to have the Age of Empires port as well. And then there's a couple other games that I know I'm forgetting about. Dark Tide will be on the console finally. Maybe Stalker will make it. You know, there'll all be these things that when you look back, take a step back and go, okay, every 3 months they have something big. And I think they're there where they can finally do it, guys. And it's been ridiculous. But Paris took so much heat for that reply. And I think it was to me, or it was to somebody that I was discussing. It was in one of my threads. And I'm like, why are people attacking this? Because he's totally justified.
Is it because he said that? Because I don't understand what there is to attack. Because that has been the staple critique against Xbox, that it has a holiday-weighted release schedule and a completely barren first half.
Yes.
Like it completely... So there's nothing controversial there. I would say another thing that maybe this is where some people will attack me and say, oh, you're so spoiled. You're going to get Starfield, Redfall, and Forza and still not good enough. These are still games that got delayed. So there needs to be another one with their original plan. There needs to be an additional. I know it sounds crazy that you get Avowed, but it should be there, or something of its ilk, or Hellblade should be there. Have a strong look. This year, Sony had Gran Turismo, Horizon Forbidden West, had God of War, and it had another one that I forget. But it's had...
They had a couple of remasters in there, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then big year. And
I am also used to the outrage every time I tweet, and half the time it's my fault. I do these mute farm tweets. Sorry, guys, I interrupted you, but Paris said, I'm used to the outrage when I tweet. Like, you put something out there, it's like the Library of Congress, and now it needs to be dissected, and they pull it to CSI, and they're like, yes. What did he say?
I don't have as many followers as you guys, but I don't mute. I just go for blood.
Well, I've got like 43,000 followers or something, right? And
that's crazy.
Of course, there's more eyes on what I say, and people think I have an agenda. And I do have an agenda sometimes, but I admitted to Gaz the other day that I do these mute farm tweets where I say the Series S is simply next gen, because it absolutely is. And I know that I'm going to find people who are like, mute, I never want to hear from you again because you got emotionally upset over what I tweeted.
Carlos Stein says all the PlayStation games this year were delayed games. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They should be. And we gave them flack last year. They should have asked for more. Absolutely. But guess what? PlayStation is going to be in trouble next year as well. Well, the only reason PlayStation gets away with these delayed games is because they hit.
Yep, they've been consistent.
Was there. If
they've been consistent for 25 years, and Xbox has had this 8-year period where they had no studios, no funding, and the third-party games they did pay for with their shoestring budget at the time, I think, they didn't do well. So it's just become this black hole. And one of the other things about Paris's tweet, guys, was that he was also inferring that if all we get is a couple bangers that we were supposed to get in 2022, that's also a problem. Like if the big highlight of 2023 is Redfall and Starfield, and what he didn't say was Forza Motorsport, because Forza Motorsport probably should have released last year, but I think it also saw a major delay that went behind the scenes. We fully expected it to come out in 2022. And it didn't.
No, Donataku says you're contradicting yourself. 2023 for Forza, Starfield, Redfall, not to mention Minecraft Legends. Okay, Stalker.
Oh yeah, that's
2,
another one. That's another one. Thank you.
If they come out, yeah, would be bad. But 2022 PlayStation is good. Stop, Donataku. Who gets the benefit of the doubt? PlayStation or Xbox? Xbox sat on their laurels and did nothing for years, and now you're gonna sit there and cap for them? No, nonsense. But the only way, if Microsoft only release Forza, Starfield, and Redfall, and that's good enough for that year, then listen carefully, is if every single one of those games, or all three of those games, hit well critically. If Starfield's hit like a 90 plus meta, if Redfall, which I imagine is going to be at 84
87,
meta.
87 to 88 for Starfield, I think, but that's what I'm guessing.
87 to 88. Oh, well, the game worked in 20 years with the pedigree of this studio should be aiming for higher, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That should be high. Redfall will be mid 84s and 5. That's fine. It's a great looking game. That's a good score for the type of game it's at. And Forza needs to beat Gran Turismo in its score and also take it to another level.
It will.
If all those three games hit, then we'll be more inclined to say, okay, good year, because all those you delivered quality. It's all about quality as well. Isn't just about quantity of exclusives.
Right.
This year, if God of War can go toe to toe with something like Elden Ring, should we not give them credit for that? Because that, despite being DLC sequelitis, still got there at a 94 meta. Microsoft, stop making excuses for them. They had a failed generation. 2018, they've swallowed all these studios.
A whole entire one and part of this one. Skillsack says 2023 should be a good year if games don't get delayed. And we're still going to see delays. Dead Island 2 has already been delayed about a month or so. Like, we're going to see this stuff. But I want to add to what you said, Gaz, that you said Redfall, Forza, and Starfield. That's 2 new IPs. Yeah. I think it's essential that either Avowed or Hellblade make it into that year as well. But I think Xbox is banking that if Call of Duty, there's going to be a Call of Duty next year, right?
I think
it's like it's another remaster or it's a collection or something. I think Xbox is banking on having the deal closed and making Call of Duty their big power hit for the holiday, and they could possibly take a game like Avowed that's ready for like November and say, sorry, we're moving you to February because we don't want to cut the legs out from your sales. But I really think Xbox needs to, okay, I know they don't watch my show, right? I don't talk to anybody at Xbox. They don't know who I am, but let me just say something like they're listening, okay?
Yeah, they do. What? Okay.
I got to play with somebody playing Vampire Survivor. The guy taught me how to play the game. It was amazing. But
Phil Spencer. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Phil Spencer. No lie, he was in party with Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer gave him the build that helped him succeed in that game.
He loves the game. He loves the game. It was so cool.
So shout out to Phil Spencer. But I got a better build from Acer. Sorry, Phil. Acer's
really? Oh yeah, Ace is amazing. So just listen, Xbox. Let me say my speech, okay? Oh my gosh. Don't worry about your games stepping on each other. You've got Game Pass. Your fans have been starving for 8 years. I think just load them up, because sometimes us hardcore gamers can get through a game in like a week and a half. Like some of us can get through a 40-hour open world game in like less than 2 weeks. So I think maybe that's out the window when it comes to like financials, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's like, just if they're ready, if Obsidian's like, we are ready for October or November, and you're like, Call of Duty step on, like, there are enough Western RPG fans to slam into Avowed, jump onto Game Pass, buy that game, talk about that game when they're not playing shooty, kablooty, Call of Duty. Like, please, if your games are ready, and I know Matt Booty said to Hargeet and I at FanFest, he was talking to Hargeet. Hargeet's amazing. Hargeet's talking to Matt Booty, right? And he said, we've got this. I've said this so much times because I'm so proud of Hargeet. Like, that's so cool. He's like, we have this Excel spreadsheet where we need to make sure everything hits and doesn't like step on each other. And now I'm thinking, step on them, step on each other. Let's get these games cranking out. Sometimes a game will drop, like Deathloop. Deathloop dropped at a time when I didn't need anything to play, and I was really liking it for a while, but not forever, right? And I moved on to something else. That's gonna happen. Let it happen. Let me read some supers. They're getting a little back here. Hargeet, okay, I got that one. Red Wolf says, "You guys rock. That is all." And he's got the horns. Shout out to Red Wolf. He's so awesome. I'm so sorry about the XSC Podcast Gaming Club. I've been on my PlayStation. We'll get back to playing. I have to concentrate when I'm on that thing. I can't, whatever. See what be you says Game of the Year, Elden War, God of the Ragnarok Ring. Yeah, give the award to both of them. There's just something about Elden Ring where it's just so organic and you're being pushed through the narrative in God of War, and they're telling you how to do the puzzles, and I love the game though. Angry Hippie, thank you for the super, says King should do a live combat talk for the Paris versus Gaz fight. Wouldn't you love to have King do the commentary?
God, that'd be a genius. Whoever said that, well done. That's a great idea.
Paris has these huge arms. I need to film you and him arm wrestling and just have him just ham it up. And
I'm not arm wrestling. That's a fight I've lost. That's not. If we'll do a boxing, because I can box, but I'm not doing an arm wrestle.
Scrappy, all 5'2" of you.
Yeah, I can box, but I can't arm wrestle. So we'll forget that.
Okay, how about this? I also can box. You and me, E3 in the ring.
Let's do it. I'll beat the out of you.
I'll take my glasses off for it.
You'll be fight in the thin air.
You're like, Colt, I'm over here. Yeah, I got you. I can see without him.
I thought it was the sound died there for a sec.
No. Hargy, thank you so much for the super. He says, please hit the like button if you're having fun. I mean, maybe it's just Gaz and I are having fun, but the chat, you guys are awesome. Hargy says, as I was telling Colt, Xbox doesn't need to compete with PlayStation or Nintendo. They have Game Pass, and I expect a level of content for my money. Xbox needs to offer more than the games announced already.
He was doing so well until that super chat.
Why?
I don't care. He has to compete. It's all about competition. Game Pass is great, but it has to compete. It all cascades from your optics comparative with PlayStation. Let us compete. Okay.
Well,
let us compete.
Hargy, Phil and Satya absolutely want to compete with Nintendo and PlayStation. They've made that very apparent. But the funny thing was what we heard today from PlayStation and Jim Ryan is they do not want anyone to compete with them. And now they see
No,
Xbox.
they don't.
And like I said, in the 2010s, cast your mind back. I'll make this brief, but cast your mind back to 2012. Like I said, the Xbox 360 was doing really well. The PlayStation 3 was catching up. They had been pushing on the Kinect thing, and rhythm games were all the rage back then, right? For a couple of years.
Yeah.
There was the DJ Hero, there was the Guitar Hero and Rock Band. That was like, that and Kinect were like some of the biggest things on the periphery of what hardcore gamers were doing. Right when the Xbox One was announced, they had Crackdown, Quantum Break, and Rise. Like, I think that was, Sunset Overdrive. Like, they didn't have a very strong future. And it went on like that forever with no funding, 4 studios, and it went like that until 2018 and 19. So I don't know, there was another quote from that
competition is the
article.
lifeblood of the industry.
Yes.
Microsoft competing is the reason where it's at. It competes.
Microsoft what?
Microsoft competing.
Microsoft what?
Microsoft competing is where it's at. Sony and Microsoft in direct competition with each other, and it's great for the industry. It drives Peter Moore said this himself, like, that has been instrumental in the development of both platforms and where it's at. Let that be the driving force. And all that, I understand what you're saying, Huggy, about this differentiator in Game Pass, but before you can get there, you need to compete on the criterion that we always, oh my god, I've refreshed the stream, that we've always assessed it on, which is the exclusives, is delivering those kind of bangers. It will happen. And Microsoft, you have to be unrelenting with Microsoft in delivering. And I know that people are going to hate me for that, but who cares? I'm not going to ease up on Microsoft.
I think they are being unrelenting. It's just this pandering to the regulators and to PlayStation right now looks so weak.
Huggy's clarified. Sorry, he said, I agree that Xbox should compete with other platforms, guys, but that isn't just enough. Game Pass needs games. I don't want a one-to-one for release. If PlayStation puts out 3, Xbox can't put out 3. All right, sorry. Yeah, now I get what you're saying. I completely agree with you.
And they do, because this year on Game Pass, Hargeet's played a lot of the games that a lot of us didn't mess with, and they've given him quite an offering. But like for me, some of the big games, they just weren't there, and it was too late.
When I play God of War, and I love God of War. The first thing, one of the first things I'm thinking about is, why can't my Xbox do this? Why can't they do it?
I know.
And that's the feeling I always get. I got the feeling when I played Returnal, which I know is very niche and not a lot of people played it or whatever.
But it was unique and slick.
Unique, it had spirit. And I just like PlayStation, and that's why I respect it. As much as I hate their business practice, I really hate their business practice and a lot of their fan base, I love the spirit of PlayStation when it comes to their exclusives. It really makes me almost forgive them for their stupid behavior in this space.
They're like the Apple of gaming, right? Everything is like really slick and really nice, and form factor, everything's really great. And there's a reason, like when you bought an iPod, it was like a premier product, right? Back in the day.
Yeah.
And
PlayStation
I feel like that.
Those games feel that.
I feel that when I play God of War Ragnarok, I look at it and I'm like, this game is limited in what it does sometimes, but it's a honed in great experience. And you can get that with a Gears game, but those are few and far between, and they need to move that forward, and there's a whole other discussion about that. Welcome, Dickie Darling, to the channel membership. Thanks for becoming a channel member. He's got the Joanna Dark picture. You'll get my videos like 12 hours early if that's anything you want, but it also gets you entered into monthly giveaways for merch. So thanks for doing that, buddy. MacBound says, I got to use my free milestone chat for the month before it gets wasted. He says, go play Somerville. And I haven't loaded that up yet, but kind of mixed reviews on that. But Cloaked Onyx says, God of War Ragnarok is definitely not DLC. If that's true, then every video game sequel is DLC. It took me 55 hours over 6 days to platinum the game. Holy smokes. No, it's not DLC, but it was. Right, Gaz? Isn't that what happened?
God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, isn't that what Jaffe said?
God of War Ragnarok. Yeah, no, but it's fact. God of War Ragnarok started off as DLC. You can actually see it. It's a very conservative in many ways, an upgrade. It's really 2018, but embellished. But the content is there, the story is there, the combat has improved tremendously. The voice acting is incredible. We talked about this with ACG. I don't know if you probably didn't watch Sons of Anarchy, but Obi from that, it voices Thor. It's so good. Yeah. There are problems with the game. No game is perfect, but it is DLC, but taken to another level. Obviously, it's not just DLC. It's an excellent game. An incredible game. You owe it to yourself to play it, unless you don't like God of War for whatever reason. I'm really. I was playing that today. Then I played Vampire Survivors. Then I played Warzone 2 with some PlayStation guy, strictly gaming, but I don't know if you guys know him. And J-Rock, and then I went on the Xbox side and played Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And then in the back of my mind, I still wanted to play God of War. Like, I need to play Ragnarok because I want to know what's happening in the story. Xbox need to deliver that.
I got to say something spicy that came to me when I was playing God of War Ragnarok. I got in this moment where two of the main characters, like, they do this camera angle where they're like facing each other and you're looking at them from the side. And I'm looking and I'm like, all the lighting's right. Like, all the baked in, because it's baked in, it's not ray tracing. Right? All the lighting's right. The skin tones the background looks amazing. The cinematography is like nailed because they're doing all motion capture and bringing it into their engine. And I'm like, this looks incredible. And I thought about that voice you always hear on like Twitter or Reddit or YouTube comments where someone says, I just want to see Xbox make a game that shows the power of the Series X like God of War. And I'm like, I'm admiring this game, how great it looks and great it feels. And it was made to run on a PS4. I just have to remind people, whenever you hear someone say that, Xbox needs to put out a game that's got the power of the Series X. Stop them and say, you don't know what you're talking about. That game was made to shine on a PS4. There is no power of the PS5 there at all, unless you're talking about frame rates. And Xbox has already shown they can do 60 and 120 FPS. So don't let people run with that narrative. And that's why I put out that little tweet of those couple of clips from from Gears 5, Gears 5 and Gears 4. And I had that quote from Digital Foundry where they said that the coalition stands tall above with the likes of Naughty Dog in their efforts. And that really upset a lot of people. But Xbox has shown with some of their teams what they can do with power. Now, they didn't with Halo, but that is not what power is. Power isn't a game that blows your face off the way it looks. That power is something totally different. And I've been hearing it for years. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right.
DJ OB gave a $1 donation. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
So, yeah, that's... we were talking about God of War for a minute there. How did we get on that discussion?
It's a good game. I know this is an Xbox podcast, but we play everything, and really, Microsoft. I don't know Phil Spencer and co. will. Probably Phil Spencer too busy playing Vampire Survive, but we play that all the time. Oh, was that your PlayStation? Did you put? Yeah,
I was just like, people always go,
the middle?
Well, they're like, well, I guess you wouldn't know since you only play on one platform, and I'm like.
I feel Colt plays a lot of games. People need to stop. And he plays on PlayStation.
And you know because this thing is constantly plugged in. Like I'm always wearing the battery down on it. But
what's Donataku saying here? Because Xbox are making those types of third-person action adventure games, but only Xbox get called out for it. Gaz has always contradicted himself. Donataku, if you don't understand my sentiments, then say so. But substantiate your point there. What third-person game? What, apart from Hellblade? What are they making?
Yeah, I know anybody could move the goalpost, but what third-person action-adventure game is in the works? Fable. Fable's third-person action-adventure. And RPG, it'll look fantastic. RPG.
Yeah. Have you seen it? What games has released? Donataku's the exact kind of attitude I think Xbox gamers shouldn't have. Perpetual excuse-making. Perpetually, but Xbox is doing that. Xbox is doing that.
And I said Xbox on the show so many times, I wanted Perfect Dark. I wanted Perfect Dark to be that game. Like you brought in Daryl Gallagher who rebooted Tomb Raider, and like all you had to do was say, Well, I mean, it's their choice. It's not Xbox's choice. Daryl Gallagher wanted to make a first-person shooter. I guess they had to out of Perfect Dark. If it was third-person, people were like, why'd you do this? But why not? Why not? Fallout started as a third-person isometric, and they brought it into third-person, and it blew up because back in 2008, first-person shooters were getting a huge resurgence. But and then we talked about that PlayStation formula, right?
Now,
is it okay
Israel
to chase?
Says, we get it.
What?
Oh my god.
We get
Sometimes
it. What?
I don't want to read a chat because someone says some dumb stuff. If Tyrone Israel's talking to us after what we just said, he goes, "We get it. You don't like PlayStation games. Move on."
Whoa, what?
We're literally saying the opposite. Just say, on the one hand, you've got Donataku having a go at us for saying, "Oh, Xbox don't deliver these kind of games," and then the other hand, you've got the same chat. You scroll down as Tyrone Israel saying, "We get it. You don't like PlayStation games. Move on."
Tyrone, what PlayStation game did I not like?
What are you talking about?
Oh, The Last of Us Part 2 I didn't like. I didn't like The Last of Us Part 2.
Oh, sorry, Tyrone.
I went all the way through it and I finished it.
I was like, what?
Oh, he's talking about other people. I don't know. But
I don't know. It's so confusing. At the person. Sorry. This is what happens with ADHD. You go and you see the chat. You're talking to someone in ears.
Oh, in the chat?
Someone in ears. Someone in chat. Some typos is pissing me off.
I actually did that one time, like way long ago before I started my own podcast. I went at somebody in the chat and they're like, I wasn't talking about you, Colt.
Bro, Donataku says that was the reply. I said that Sony doesn't make Sea of Thieves, Psychonauts 2, Grounded, Fable, Starfield, Redfall, and State of Decay games, but you don't call them out for having it. I've always called. How many times have we talked about variety in games? Xbox has more variety in games. How many times have we rinsed PlayStation for not even been delivering a first-person shooter worth its salt that has to money hack Call of Duty? And what Psychonauts 2? It has 2 platformers that are sick. That are mad.
I did like Destruction All Stars. I played like I don't know a dozen matches, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, but like I didn't stick with it, and none of my friends were playing, so I just kind of moved on. I actually don't really. I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. I don't know if I don't know, whatever. I tried it out. Yeah, whatever.
And you say we've always said PlayStation flops in the multiplayer arena, and hence why the live service games and all the investments in 10 live service games. Mm-hmm. So. I don't know where you're saying that. Look, Sony falters all the time, but the quality mark is still there. It sticks to what it knows, but there is a problem. First-person shooters, multiplayer, fails all the time. All the time.
I mean, I would like to say for the jury and all people listening that I think there are more genres that Xbox actually excels in first-party wise. The shooters,
absolutely
those games as a service games, like. I don't love Sea of Thieves, but I played the other day with my kids, and dude, it's so weird because that game. It's so weird to talk about Sea of Thieves because I don't like the game, but then there's times where my kids are like, hey, we want to play, and we're playing, and my daughter's on the wheel, my son is like on the map, and he's checking checking out where we're supposed to go, and I'm setting the sails, and there's this magic that happens. And then we start playing the music, we land, we pull the anchor at the right time, we get on this island, and the sun's setting, the colors, and it looks amazing if you have HDR. And I'm like, gosh, it's just so magical. And I'm hanging out with my kids, and we have such a good time. And I'm like, I thought you didn't like Sea of Thieves, Cole. I'm like, I'm really liking this. But I don't know. Yeah, Game Fire says Season 8 comes out tomorrow. I don't know. It's interesting. There's so many. People act like there's one genre. Like, what's this 8-bit nonsense? I'm like, Vampire Survivor is fantastic. There's some genres that I kind of stay away from. I don't know.
But your PlayStation fanboys were like, oh, why do I get the feeling everyone's liking Vampire Survivors because the Xbox has nothing else? I'm like,
PlayStation doesn't have that game. That game's not on PlayStation. You know what I found out? I was talking to somebody who said that they went to the one guy that made Vampire Survivor, and they said, we want that on Game Pass. And he's like, well, I can't make an Xbox version. It's just me. And they said, well, hire somebody to port it, and we'll pay you, a certain amount to bring it to Game Pass. And so the guy had enough money from the offer to hire a third-party studio to port the Xbox version. Now it's on Game Pass, and this guy is living on cloud 9 with millions of people checking out his game. And they're even talking about, they're thinking internally, why don't we see if he wants to use some Xbox-related characters in the game that you could unlock or buy. And I was talking to Tim Dog. He's like, they should open up the microtransactions for cosmetics. Like, if you just want your character to look a certain way, you could buy like theme-based, Halo or whatever if you really like it, or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? It's a big deal. It's everything's changing.
It is changing.
I drooled on myself on purpose when you weren't looking. when you were reading, I was like letting the water drool out, and now I'm like totally soaked.
What I love about Vampire Survivors, despite its looks, it's just I grew up with games looking like Vampire Survivors. Those 8-bit, kind of pixel-bit games, and you're playing this game, and it doesn't even register in your mind.
The sound and the feel, right?
It's the sound, the feel, the cathartic kind of endorphin release. The dopamine's being released as you hear the sounds of popping and all these enemies. And that's the beauty of gaming. And that you don't need, it can go toe-to-toe with God of War Ragnarok as far as your attention is concerned, or the fun that you have.
I set down my PlayStation controller
so one man made this game.
Yeah, and I set down my PlayStation controller 9 times this past week because I'm like,
absolutely,
I really want to play Vampire Survivors. And you and I hung out it was 4.5 hours or something.
You
go, what time is it? And I go, oh my gosh, we've been playing for 5 hours, because we would get up to that 30 minutes and you die from the Reaper, which I showed on the show. But let's see, David Kirchhoff, thank you so much for the super. He says, still can't bring myself to finish God of War Ragnarok. Still think it's boring 5 hours in. David, it gets better when you get past that 5 or 6 hour point, but I really do think that its biggest downfall is that pacing, where you're listening to great storytelling, but you're like, when combat kicks off, it's over in 2 minutes. And sometimes that's bad, guys, where you wait so long for combat that once the combat hits, you're not prepared. You're feeling cold, right? That kind of bugs me. But
I mean, it's not a slight on God of War Ragnarok. Vampire Survivor is that addictive. It's that kind of game. I might buy it on my Steam Deck because I just want to play it while I'm out and about.
Vampire Survivor is continually rewarding your synapses when you play it. God of War, it comes in these waves.
Story engrossing, No, it doesn't take away from God of War. It's not an attempt at downplaying the significance of God of War. It's just Vampire Survivor is a fun game. It's like Hades if you played it in that sense of enjoyment. But a little bit less than that. But Stuart Will asks us, why are games as a service games so frowned upon? They don't seem to count. Yeah, they constantly deliver new content and updates. I think it's because they don't release in complete. So if you look at the legacy of Sea of Thieves,
that's a good point.
The game at launch has that legacy of, you still remember the tentacles with no model underneath it, or bare bones.
The Kraken is lacking. People really put a lot of stock in this game. Wasn't a full pack. It could be just simply that. I got Sea of Thieves. It wasn't the full package. I got Forza Horizon 4. It was the full package. It came out with 100 hours of gameplay. And it was all fully curated and it was ready at launch. I think that's why. Yeah. The other problem, Gaz, and who was that? I saw his chat as well that you happened to read. Say his name again. Gosh, where'd it go?
Donataku?
Oh, Donataku. Yeah, I know Don. Was that who read it? Who said it?
Yeah.
I knew who Don is. Anyway.
Sorry.
We're all over the board, right?
I don't know anymore.
I don't even know what I was going to say. And welcome to the XNC podcast.
We got Cloaked Onyx with a $10 super chat as well. That's really good chat. He says a PlayStation worked to greenlight a Killzone on Resistance Fall of Man remake, but have Bungie make it. Boom. That's how PlayStation compete, and for Bungie just stick it to Xbox. Said this before. You're on the nail on the head. If they actually had an appetite to compete, PlayStation don't. They take the path of least resistance.
Doesn't it seem like Bungie wouldn't won't do it. Like they're really adamant about exclusivity.
I mean, the Bungie thing is overstretched a bit too much. There, what's happening is, what we assume is happening is the talent at Bungie to deliver for great or build for great first-person shooters. That talent is lacking generally in all the first-party studios that PlayStation has.
First person, yeah.
So they're hopefully going to utilize that talent to build other games, potential IPs, and I expect that to happen. And people are saying that, and that's a fair point. PlayStation needs to fix up. It faltered. We said this before. Xbox.
I think Resistance would be the better vote because
I would vote Killzone. I think Killzone has a
Resistance was made by oh my gosh, I'm blanking on their. How am I blanking on? Well, it's late in the day.
Why am I thinking Insomniac?
Insomniac, yeah, duh. And Insomniac wants to make it, but they're super busy. They're making Wolverine, but like Cloaked Onyx saying, give Bungie Resistance. Like, would Insomniac want Bungie to take one of their babies because they love Resistance?
Yeah,
but he's right. Like Bungie could make something else. They don't want to make an IP and make it exclusive, but if they are there hired to work for PlayStation, so they totally could do that. Randy G says most PS games are overrated. Returnal is probably the best game they have, and the first 3 God of War games. I think some of their games are overrated. The Last of Us 2. Shoot. What was there was a couple. Oh, Horizon Forbidden West, overrated. Horizon Zero Dawn, pretty good. I really like that one. But yeah, I don't know.
Not for me.
Not most PlayStation games are overrated. Some are, and that'd be the same across anything. Wouldn't you agree, guys?
Yeah, definitely.
Biff Rinaldi says, got a shower before bed. You guys coming with?
What?
You guys coming with? Anyway,
I'm gonna have to shower after that comment. But yeah.
Oops. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much everything. I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff that pops up the rest of this week.
What about Evil West?
Yes, Evil West is getting very mixed reviews. Skill Up says I strongly recommend it. Who else said
Dealer said he's enjoyed it.
Dealer said it's really good. And Dealer and I almost always align on games that we love, except for NBA 2K23. I've tried. I'm interested. And I wondered if that game would pull, like if I would be so tempted to try something shiny and new, because Ragnarok isn't so much shiny and new. It's just very, very shiny. But then it's got like a 73 meta. I've loved 73 metas before. What do you think, Gaz? We talked about it on the show before.
The gameplay loop looks good. Now it's a question of whether or not I'm going to actually devote time to play that game. I want to play it. It looks good. I'll make my own mind up on it. Because when the reviews like it has, in a bit mixed, it's one of those where I'll make up my own mind to enjoy it and make it up. It's like the formula you suggested. Check out Metacritic. Check out the reviews you like. Ask your friends, and then if you feel like, want to play it, so I'm using the Colteastwood formula.
I tried to get a review code
on sale, like Mr. Mix Pick Tick. What kind of name is that?
Ducato says Evil West co-op stipulations are poopy. In his own words. What wonder what
are they?
I don't know, but Dealer says it has co-op, but I asked for a review code like a few days ago, and I haven't heard back. I don't actually get review codes from other publications, and I haven't really tried, but
I've given up, man. I've given up. Like, you keep begging them for review codes. It's like, oh, what publication? We've got a proper website with massive funding and all of that, and then they're still like, they don't answer. I'm like, I'm not here to beg. I want to just buy the game. It's probably better for independents anyway.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
I'll buy it. You bought enough games with GameShare. I'll buy it. I'll do it now.
Don't buy it now. You don't need to buy it until it comes out.
Those out.
Yeah, that's well, it's out. Oh, actually, it's out in 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Evil West. It looks cool, but I heard it's boring. But I heard it's good. We'll see. I don't know. It's kind of God of War-esque and Devil May Cry-esque in its own way. So
yeah, but you had this with Gotham Knights. So everyone said it was mixed, and then you loved that game.
Yeah. DeSilvia says Xbox doesn't send review codes. Yes, they do. Yeah, for their games, they absolutely do. But
Xbox are the only ones who have actually sent me review codes for Forza and for Halo. They send that to me, and they're very nice. Sony don't send me anything because they know what I'm like. Microsoft, even though I don't know if they'll send me anything after my scathing Halo review, but let's see.
Oh gosh, I haven't even touched that Halo co-op. We're not going to talk about Halo tonight. Yeah, but that's
we need to do that.
we need to play it. We need to play it.
Yeah.
Let me. I think I'm pretty good.
Gungrave is coming out tomorrow on Game Pass. Apparently.
Oh my gosh! Okay, this is
games.
This is the worst year I've had keeping up with games. I have not finished Plague Tale. I haven't finished Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Campaign's mid. But yeah.
Oh, I got all the way through the level where you don't have a gun, and then when I went back to it, it reset me to the beginning of the whole level, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this.
It's a hard slog, but once you get a gun, the game that level.
I already did it. I was like at the point where we were extracting, and then when I went back to the game 2 weeks later because I'd set it down, it put me right back at the beginning. I don't know what happened. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Gaz, well, you're finally back in this. I was gonna say you're back in the States. You're back in the back home. What are you gonna do? Tell the audience what you have. You've got to start making content again. Like you had 3 weeks of
partying up. Yeah, massages.
Wait, is this something you do in the club, or was that like in the 40s? You're like
Bungra music. No, man, I know how to dance.
You're doing like that. Doing like a shuffle. I'm doing like I'm trying to do like whatever they do in the 30s or something.
Do not embarrass me at E3 with a little.
I remember. I got to tell you a quick thing. When I was like 13 or 14, I was going to go to a party at a friend's house, like in junior high. We're going to go over to what's her name's house, and they're going to have music and pizza and hang out. And mom goes, "Do you know how to dance?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know how to." I didn't know how to dance, but she goes, "Let me show you." She goes over and turns on the stereo, and she starts doing this like. She starts doing this. You got to really move it in and shake it. I'm like, "Mom!" And she goes, "I'll love it, love it, love it."
And I'm like, mom sound like Tim Dog.
She actually does. That's where that's yeah, she does.
Bless your mom, man.
Yeah,
you're hiding
awesome.
a Thai bride around your house somewhere. No, I don't have a Thai bride. Come on, man. Do I look like Red Dragon?
Yes. Hit the like button so we can get up to 400 before Gaz has a coughs a lung. What are you going to do for content? What you got? YouTube's a thing. It's still around. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm just going to work on some content. Source videos, again, as always, they take hours to make. And I'm just going to make more regular videos of me with opinions because YouTube just wants consistency, so I have to do it. Just been busy with work, man, and catching up with everything. And the end of year stress. It's very stressful. But yeah, and play more games, man. Today I came home from work, didn't even have dinner. I just want to play games. Just want to relax. And I played Warzone. I played God of War. I played Vampire Survivors. I did non-so straight. And then I slept for 30 minutes before the show. So, and I want to play more games.
Shout out to video games for saving our lives. Shout out to
video games for being the best medium ever. Best medium ever. Absolutely.
I actually put out 2 videos in the past like 7 days, and this morning I put out a video about Fallout that went quite slow out into the public, but check it out if you're interested in Fallout and where it's going, because they've been talking about Obsidian's been talking about them wanting to do Fallout, and Xbox has been saying that they would like to see that franchise sooner than later instead of waiting on Todd Howard's like, 2030 or whatever. But yeah, check out that video. And there's also a PC version of just Fallout that's coming out soon. So check out that video if you can. And then maybe I'll get something out before Thanksgiving here in the States. We are celebrating Thanksgiving. Most people are, I suppose. Hang out with family and have food. So thanks for everybody for supporting the show and, for the 800 people who are here hanging out with us. And we're going to get out of here. Gaz? Thank you so much, bro. It's good to hang out. Let's talk tomorrow. You gonna be in the office?
No, I'm working from home. So
okay, I'm gonna work at your office tomorrow. Yeah.
Wicked. I'm naked again.
I don't even know where the button is.